It is Sundry News, Episode 8, for Wednesday, June 3rd, right? Yes, Wednesday, June 3rd. We start, as always, with the Daily Wire. Oh, it says it right there, Wednesday, June 3rd. I'm so smart. Ha 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 ha. De Blasio demands cop be fired for pulling gun on crowd in viral video. Then the full video comes out. Epidemiologist who triggered worldwide lockdowns admits, without instituting full lockdown, Sweden essentially getting same effect. U.S. Park Police say they did not fire tear gas at White House protesters, claim demonstrators were attacking cops. That's not surprising. BET founder Robert Johnson calls for $14 trillion in reparations for slavery. God damn it. Go away. Why is that not necessary? That's not necessary because for one thing, most of the whatever we're supposed to call them, African American people, black people, most of the black people that are living in this country today are not descendants from slaves. All right? And to set up the ones that actually are for life, I'm sure you would need a lot less than $14 trillion. And there is no reason why anybody living today can be blamed for things that happened that long ago. And another thing is that people don't need help because of slavery. Anybody who has convinced themselves that they need help, that they need money because they might have some ancestors way back who were slaves, that's just sad. That's just really, really sad and pathetic. That's all. You know who's not asking for things like that is the Jews. Yes, Germany was forced to pay some reparations. Enough, I think the country was like bankrupt after World War II. But that was right then at the time. Today, Jews are doing fine. And it doesn't have anything to do with anything that was given to them after they were wronged so badly. So much more. They were wronged so much more than the slaves were. And they're doing fine, you know? So one would suppose that it is something to do with you, not with history. Fix your own shit. Black Lives Matter issued demands, urged crowd to disrupt white capitalism at weekend LA rally because capitalism has never benefited any black people, huh? Right. Why don't you ask that poor guy that owned that sports bar that you destroyed? He was black, by the way. And I just wanted to give him a hug. Poor guy. Okay, what's this video about? The Daily Wire. Democrat New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio demanded on Monday that a police officer who appeared to pull a gun on a crowd have his gun and badge taken away today and face consequences for the alleged actions. However, hours after de Blasio made the remarks, additional video footage surfaced that showed that the police officer was responding to his supervisor being struck in the back of the head by a violent rioter, something that was left out of the initial video clip that went viral. Okay. That's enough right now. Next. Yahoo Sports, read and react. Brought to you by Yahoo Sports. Trending. NFL medical officer optimistic there will be football in the fall. Okay, yeah, pretty much everybody's optimistic that there will be football in the fall. Why is that headline worthy? Judge rules Zion Williamson will have to address alleged payments at Duke. Okay. Sac Kings announcer resigns after tweeting All Lives Matter. Are you fucking kidding me? All lives do matter. That's saying that all lives matter does not exclude Black lives. On the other hand, saying Black lives matter does exclude all other lives. And yet, it's all lives matter that's controversial. This is so fucked up. Hall of Famer Wes Unseld dead at 74. Rest in peace. Accidentally awesome. 50 greater than 162? What am I looking at here? By Dan Wetzel. Morning. Major League Baseball is considering proposing a 50-game regular season during negotiations about how to restart the coronavirus-shortened season. Yes, just 50 games, just a sliver of the typical 162-game regular season. Oh, that's what those numbers are. Okay. It is almost assuredly just a negotiating ploy to scare the players. Here's guessing an 80-something game compromise is eventually reached. Whatever. No matter how likely it is to occur, let's consider this 50-game idea anyway. Baseball is a game of attrition. You have to ride out highs and lows and blown saves and 0 for 4 days at the plate and come back the next day to do it again. That's part of the ethos of how the sport is played. Slow and steady. At the 50-game mark last season, the eventual World Series champion Washington Nationals were just 19-31, the second to worst record in the entire National League. The Chicago Cubs, which had the second best record in the National League at the time, didn't even make the playoffs. So yes, a 50-game season would be a total farce. It would also be a lot of fun. This would be the wildest pennant race of all time. Instead of the typical marathon, it would be a demolition derby charge where literally any team could make it or miss it. It's essentially like having every team in the majors tied in the standings in early August. Maybe with so many games, maybe usually the teams aren't really giving it everything they can. Maybe with less games, you would see what they can actually do. If the players would buckle down and get their shit together and actually care about their fucking job and about their craft. But whatever. This would be like baseball playing football. Every game matters. Exactly. And while in normal times baseball shouldn't try to emulate a different sport, these aren't normal times. A global shutdown created this. When life gives you the coronavirus, give them the Daytona 500 on manicured grass. Interesting. A 50-game season is about as close to everyone making the playoffs as is possible. The end of the season might require so many play-in games and tiebreakers for home field advantage, you'd need an abacus to keep track. Hey, that'd be part of the fun. Baseball purists would no doubt want asterisks splashed all over the place. Others might just want to cover their eyes and wish this tricked-up effort was never conceptualized in the first place. Ever heard of a 6-win Cy Young winner? If 114 games causes some to cringe, then 50 will result in conniption. It's absurd, right? Yeah, well, it isn't any more absurd than the fact that MLB owners and players are arguing over money as protests and a pandemic overwhelm the country. Protests. I think you mean riots. So while it is one weird idea, it'd also be weirdly fun to watch, at least once. Follow Dan Wetzel on Twitter. Aioli. How would Muhammad Ali respond to protests? I really don't want to hear what anybody is going to say about that. Because how can you really know? Nobody really knows for sure how people are going to think. Oz. Cubs owner says scale of losses to baseball is biblical. I'm sure. Goodwill. Driving while black is a real thing. This is my story. Why the fuck is this in sports? Philly has its limits. Looters in Philadelphia took everything from a rent-a-center but 2 items, a lamp and a recliner with a Dallas Cowboys star on it. Fuck you guys. Fuck you guys, Philadelphia. There's got to be more than one. There must have been more than one of those in the store. Come on. Fuck you guys. Thanks for reading today's issue of Read and React. Follow Yahoo Sports on social. And next, the Daily Yahoo, brought to you by Yahoo News. Monster or Machine? A profile of the coronavirus at 6 months. As scientists work to understand the virus and develop a vaccine, one researcher says we are only in the 2nd inning of the fight against the pandemic. The most important fight, though, is the fight against the panic. That's the most important fight. And I believe we're only in phase 1 of the fight against the panic. We let it take over. It was winning. We gotta fight it back. Fight back that panic. Twilight actor Gregory Tyree Boyce and his girlfriend died from effects of cocaine and fentanyl. A coroner's report confirmed the deaths of actor Gregory Tyree Boyce and his girlfriend Natalie Adepoju were drug-related and accidental. Emma Watson is being criticized for performative activism after altering black squares for Blackout Tuesday to seemingly fit her Instagram aesthetic. Okay. The Harry Potter star's recent social media activity resulted in backlash, with fans asking Watson to do more amid the Black Lives Matter movement. Oh, brother. These poor celebrities, I mean, you gotta feel a little sorry for them, because no matter what they do, they're not gonna please everybody, and yet somehow they still want to. It's so sad. Sponsored. Helping kids through COVID-19 and beyond. The Child Mind Institute is here for you with essential telehealth and online resources to support kids who are struggling no matter where they are, no matter where you are. Trump appears to ask Melania to smile during photo op at chapel that infuriated church leaders. President Donald Trump appeared to tell the First Lady, Melania Trump, to smile during a visit to the St. John Paul II National Shrine, a day after his visit to the St. John's Episcopal Church outraged religious leaders. In footage taken of the visit to the... Why? His visit to the St. John's Episcopal Church outraged religious leaders. I find that hard to believe. Really. He came out of the White House while there were riots happening in the city. He walked out, he walked across the street, he went to the church in a sign of solidarity with the church. Whatever. Looters snag 50-plus cars, including $100,000 Hellcats, Chargers, Challengers, and Trackhawks. More than 50 new high-performance Mopar models were stolen from a California Dodge dealership after looters shattered the showroom windows to obtain keys. They better fucking arrest people in all this shit. Arrest every single looter. Come on. Just do it. No, there's... What are these extenuating circumstances? There are no extenuating circumstances. There's no reason. Just because everybody else is doing it, just because the fucking city's burning, those aren't good extenuating circumstances. Ugh. HelloFresh cuts ties with Lea Michele following Glee co-star's allegations. Michelle's Glee co-star Samantha Marie Ware said the actress made her life a living hell on set. Oh, brother. Fucking people. Stay up to date on coronavirus, because that's what you really want to do. Get the latest developments and official updates on the global health pandemic from trusted sources. Any source that Yahoo News trusts, I'm not going to trust. Just saying. What's hot? It's Yahoo Search. Shocking, I know. Trending now, Kelly Chauvin. That's the wife of the awful, horrible, despicable cop who is paying for his horrible actions, and yet the country burns. William Shatner, Betty Broderick, anti-violence, life insurance rates, Mitsubishi Mini Split. That sounds like a dessert. Emma Watson, Blackout Tuesday. Glad that's over. Sympathy gifts, Katie Cruz. 1440. Good morning. It's Wednesday, June 3rd, and we're covering protests. Shocking. They're covering protests. I think you mean riots. An advance in analyzing the Dead Sea Scrolls, cool. And the tattoo regret industry. Have feedback? Let us know. Need to know. This is what you need to know. Protests, riots, continue. Largely calm. Really. Was that before or after a bunch of looters stole a bunch of cars? Protests over the death of George Floyd, a black man who died while being taken into custody by Minneapolis police last week, continued for the 8th night. Protesters defied curfews in cities across the country, but tensions eased somewhat following a number of nights where demonstrations turned violent. Nearly 9,300 people have been arrested so far. Well, there you go. All the violent ones are being put away. But then they're being bailed out by a bunch of celebrities. The Minnesota Department of Human Rights announced it would launch an investigation into the Minneapolis Police Department over Floyd's death. The probe will review a decade of procedures with a stated goal of overhauling discriminatory practices. Oh my God. It was not about race. Seriously. In his first formal speech since the beginning of the pandemic, presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden criticized the administration's response to protests. Oh, shocking. I'm so surprised. I'm so surprised that Joe Biden, who wants to replace President Trump as president, would have something negative to say about President Trump's administration. I mean, no, I really expected that he would be praising and saying what a great job they're doing. Because that's how you win an election and beat your opponent. Separately, demonstrations in a number of cities worldwide were held in solidarity with U.S. protesters. In Paris, police fired tear gas into crowds near the city courthouse. Worldwide. These people, they're just tired of being in their houses because of the panic and overreaction to the coronavirus. Public memorials for Floyd will be held beginning tomorrow in a number of places, followed by a private burial service Tuesday in Houston, where Floyd was raised and had immediate family. Oh, great, from Texas. Joe Biden will reportedly attend. Oh. Dead Sea Scrolls discovery. Researchers are one step closer to piecing together many of the thousands of Dead Sea Scroll fragments thanks to a newly developed genetic analysis technique. The approach examines DNA from the ancient documents, which often used animal skin as parchment, allowing different pieces to be clustered based on how similar their DNA samples are. Initially discovered in 1946 to 47, the works are among the most important discoveries in Judeo-Christian history, containing some of the oldest known examples of writings later included in the Hebrew Bible. While some are well preserved, thousands exist as fragments, many purchased separately through antiquity dealers. Notably, researchers were able to separate previously grouped pieces after discerning most used sheepskin, previously unknown, while some used cowskin. The study also revealed some texts were more widely circulated among Jewish communities than previously thought. Separately, a handful of pieces thought to be blank were recently found to have religious writings. Very cool. Carolina Blues. North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper yesterday rejected a proposal from the Republican National Committee to hold a large-scale presidential convention in Charlotte. Douchebag. D. Roy Cooper, D for douchebag. The proposed event, currently scheduled for August 24th to 27th, called for an estimated 50,000 attendees at the city's Spectrum Center. The arena's concert capacity is near 65,000. President Trump, desiring a full-fledged event, said he would push to relocate the convention. GOP officials reportedly visited Nashville, Tennessee as an alternative. The Democratic convention was rescheduled for August 17th through 20th in Milwaukee. Officials are considering shifting to an entirely online event. Separately, longtime GOP pariah Steve King lost his primary race to challenger Randy Feenstra. The 9 primaries around the country were also a test for mail-in voting, a slow process. By early this morning, less than 20% of precincts had reported in Pennsylvania. The future of cereal? Magic Spoon. It was a simpler time, childhood. We played in the mud, reserved weekends for sleepovers and birthday parties, and ate delicious cereal every morning, chock full of sugar. We aren't allowed to name names, but you know which cereals we're talking about. I don't know. I had Cheerios and Rice Krispies. Now we miss a simpler time as much as you do, but we should all hold our cereal reminiscing to a higher standard. A Magic Spoon standard. They've recreated your favorite childhood breakfast cereals, flavors like cocoa, frosted, fruity, and blueberry, with more protein, fewer carbs, and 0 sugar. Time magazine named them in the top 100 inventions of 2019, and Forbes has called them the future of cereal. Magic Spoon has 6,000 plus 5-star reviews and a happiness guarantee. Full refund if you don't like it. So you can try their cereal risk-free today. Give it a taste. Please support our sponsors. In the know. Sports, entertainment, and culture. Boxer Floyd Mayweather will cover costs of June 9th funeral and memorial services for George Floyd. Good for him. HelloFresh cuts ties with Glee star Lea Michele after co-star Samantha Ware accused Michelle of racial insensitivity while filming the show. Oh my God. Ugh. Wes Unseld, former NBA MVP and Basketball Hall of Famer, dies at 74. Cannes Film Festival official selections to be announced today in Paris. 28% of films are directed by females, a record for Cannes. I'm sure that just happened by accident. I'm sure they weren't intentionally excluding male-directed films just so they could include more female-directed films. I'm sure that's not what they were doing. Science and technology. National Institutes of Health releases trove of data from now-canceled bat coronavirus study. Singles out the Chinese horseshoe bat as critical to the evolution of coronaviruses. Let's kill them all. Ha ha ha. HBO Max will be excused from data caps on streaming plans of its parent company AT&T, while Netflix and Disney Plus will not. Arrangement is allowed absent net neutrality rules. Data caps. Why? Artificial tissue mimics uterine contractions, allowing researchers to study infertility issues and diseases like endometriosis. Cool. Business and markets. U.S. stock markets up. S&P 500 up 0.8%. Dow up 1.1%. NASDAQ up 0.6% for third consecutive day as economic recovery optimism builds. How is the economy going to recover when everything has been burned down? Okay, not everything, but I'm just saying. This is good, though. Good. Video conferencing giant Zoom announces 169% revenue growth over previous year. Smashes earnings expectations. Smashes. Google faces $5 billion consumer lawsuit for allegedly tracking user activity while in private mode. Shame on them. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg addresses employees in company-wide town hall meeting regarding inaction on recent President Trump posts. I really hope, Mark Zuckerberg, that you can dig deep and find your balls and stick to your guns. I could just click on that. But if I click on it, it could say that he didn't stick to his guns. And then I would be sad. Okay, let's see. Mark Zuckerberg tries. Breaking news. Silver wants 22-team Orlando tourney teams to play 8 regular season games. NBA owners expect to do okay plan. WOJ lists which teams watch. I guess that's a name. Lists which teams make the cut. Okay. See, the NBA is much less dramatic than the MLB. Mark Zuckerberg tries to explain his inaction on Trump posts to outraged staff. CNN business. CNN. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg sought on Tuesday to ease employee outrage over his inaction on incendiary remarks recently posted by President Donald Trump. You're not going to give us examples of these incendiary remarks. During a company-wide town hall, Zuckerberg struggles to explain his decision-making process as many of his employees struggle to explain. Yeah, that's one example of how you're not actually reporting news objectively. You are putting your own spin on it. You're putting your own translation on it. As many of his employees using a real-time feedback tool reminded him of promises to remove content that calls for violence or that could lead to imminent physical harm. It's crystal clear today that leadership refuses to stand with us, Brandon Dale, an engineer at Facebook, tweeted as the town hall was taking place. Facebook spokesman Andy Stone said in a statement to CNN Business that open and honest discussion has always been a part of Facebook's culture. Mark had an open discussion with employees today, as he has regularly over the years, Stone said. He's grateful for their feedback. The meeting has threatened to ratchet up tensions at Facebook, which has been hit with allegations of right-wing bias. It has been hit with allegations of right-wing bias from conservatives and criticized by others for tacitly condoning the spread of hate and racism. It's not just bias. It's outright, what is it? Favoritism? Another Facebook employee told CNN Business they found Zuckerberg's answers to staff questions at the town hall lacking and said the CEO risked alienating more of his staff rather than addressing their concerns. Good. During the event, Facebook staff shared links to a video of an exchange between Democratic Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Zuckerberg last October when he said, "If anyone, including a politician, is saying things that is calling for violence or could risk imminent physical harm, we will take that content down." At one point, see, the problem with saying things like that is it's subjective. Sometimes it's subjective. Sometimes people want to include things under that umbrella which other people would disagree about. At one point, roughly 22,000 people had tuned into the live video feed, according to another Facebook worker who was watching the stream. The figure reflects nearly half of the company's 48,000 employees. Well, maybe the other half don't really have a problem with Zuckerberg. Maybe that's why they didn't bother to watch. The top question for Zuckerberg, which called for changes to the company's stance on political speech, received more than 5,400 votes from workers, the employee said. Okay, so 22,000 is nearly half of the 48,000 employees, but they could only muster 5,400 votes. Not all employees disagree with Zuckerberg's position, however. One told CNN Business, supporting free speech, especially when you vehemently disagree with what the person is saying, is a hard but important stance needed to make sure everyone can have a voice. Thank you, that's a good person. Promote that person. Interesting how that person is not named. Was that their choice? The employee said it is hard to be sure what portion of Facebook staff supports Zuckerberg's decision. At least a few people with whom they have spoken do support it, but are nervous to say so more publicly because they have seen the pushback within the company, the employee said, even though most likely they're the majority. Most likely. Tuesday's event follows days of employee activism over Facebook's handling of Trump's content. Some staffers staged a virtual walkout on Monday to protest decisions made by the company's leaders concerning posts by Trump. Fucking children. And at least one worker, software engineer Timothy Avini, has quit his job, saying it is no longer feasible to keep excusing Facebook's behavior. Well, good riddance. Facebook's workforce is known for keeping its disputes with executives largely private, but that changed on Friday when Zuckerberg announced he would not act against content by Trump that Twitter had flagged earlier as having violated its own rules. The decision has prompted widespread criticism within Facebook that has spilled into public, with numerous employees expressing their disagreement on Twitter. Lock up your employees, dude. Get your shit together. One of Trump's posts had claimed in reference to the demonstrations in Minneapolis that when the looting starts, the shooting starts, a phrase with racist origins. Oh, why don't you show us those racist origins? Trump later professed not to know the history of the phrase, but he allowed the original remark to stand on Facebook and Twitter. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And it does not necessarily even, if it's not saying that if you start looting, you're going to get shot by the police. Although, I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with that because looting is a crime. Stop looting. You also are running the risk of being shot by the people you're taking things from, the people you're robbing. And they should have every right to fucking shoot you down if you're taking their living. Zuckerberg said the content provoked in him a visceral negative reaction, but he justified his decision not to act against the posts, citing his responsibility as the leader of an institution committed to free expression. Exactly. In the eyes of his harshest internal critics, Zuckerberg had simply caved on prior principled comments. Mark can patch this one section of Facebook's policies, but if he derives his principle from the particular actions he wants to take, instead of taking action based on principle, it'll be fruitless in the long run, Avini said in a response to a CNN reporter's question on his post. Because I really care what that douchebag has to say. He most likely ruined his life because he couldn't handle what? Being disagreed with? Yeah. Hello? Back. Why you no go back? Bank of America pledges $1 billion to address racial and economic inequality, the first big bank to make a monetary pledge. Really, Bank of America? Really? From our partners, think of Stacked Marketer as 1440 for marketing. Over 13,000 marketers trust this 100% free newsletter for the latest in advertising hacks, insights, and breaking news, all in a 5-minute daily read. Politics and world affairs. Wait, that wasn't politics? That sure was political. Blah, blah, blah. France becomes first European country to roll out official smartphone contact tracing app. U.S. reports 1.83 million cases with 106,181 deaths as of this morning, a 1% rise in deaths since yesterday. See a comparison of daily cases with each state's reopening status. Senate Judiciary Committee begins its investigation into the origins of the Russia probe today. Former Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein to be first witness. Tropical storm Cristobal becomes third named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season, the earliest on record, projected to move over the Gulf of Mexico and hit the U.S. Sunday. More rain. Let's talk protein. How much protein does your current breakfast go-to have? Is it giving you the energy and strength you need to attack the day? It might be time to check out Magic Spoon. Their cereals are packed with 11 grams of protein, along with only 110 calories, 3 gram net carbs, and 0 sugar. And the best part? It tastes great. Give Magic Spoon a try today and upgrade your breakfast routine risk-free. Please support our sponsors, etc. Friday was the saddest day in the history of Twitter. That should be on clickbait. Winners of the International Photography Awards celebrate the beauty of movement. Danielle Gaithers becomes MIT's first black female student body president. Gathers? Why the tattoo regret industry is worth billions. Not surprising. The remains of 60 mammoths are found during excavations in Mexico. Cool. Sesame Street to host a town hall addressing racism. Germany is keeping its nightlife alive with drive-in discos. Very cool. Good for you, Germany. Scientists capture the world's deepest octopus on video. Clickbait. Carol Baskin beats the Tiger King. History book. Spanish explorer Hernando de Soto claims Florida for Spain. 1939. Singer and actress Josephine Baker born. 1906. Ed White becomes first American to walk in space. 1965. Happy birthday, Rafael Nadal. 1986. Rest in peace, Muhammad Ali. 2016. Service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. Muhammad Ali. Enjoy reading. Forward this email